Hi, my name is Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety, and welcome to today's In Creative Conversation with Hubert Point du Jour. We are so fortunate to get to see this actor every week now on Showtime's The Good Lord Bird, and so pleased he can be joining us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jenelle. Thanks for having me.
I'm such a fan of this series. I've been lucky enough to see your work on stage too, so it's so exciting to talk to you. I'm sort of curious though, was there a moment you knew that you wanted to be an actor and that this was something you could do for a career?
It was probably after my first year of school at a performing arts high school that I went to in Long Island. I went to this school for my junior and senior year. And after my first year there, I was pretty clear that this was my thing. No doubt about it.
So you went to a performing arts school, but you still weren't sold on it at that point?
Well, before then, I've been performing since I was 5, but I was singing mostly. I was singing in church choirs and school choirs, and so performing was, not new to me. I'd been doing it for so long. But in 10th grade, I did a musical, Oliver, and that's when I got introduced to acting, and then I learned about this school in Long Island that I could go to half a day. I could remain at my main high school and then go to this other school for the second half of the day, and study theater and acting, and that's what I did.
Do you mind if I ask who you were in Oliver?
I was the Artful Dodger.
No way! At that age? Wow! I would love to go back and see that performance.
We used to have it on VHS, but who knows where that is now? But you can see me hamming it up in my little British accent.
So when was the first time you were actually in front of a camera?
Well, professionally, probably when I got out of school, and I started doing commercials. I got a commercial agent right when I finished college, not high school, when I finished college. And I auditioned, what was the first on-camera commercial I did? I think it was for an energy drink. I can't remember the name of it now, but that was probably the first on-camera gig that I got.
I mean, I think most of us, when we think of performing arts schools, we can't help but think of fame.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we do not, like, everyone's bursting into song in the hallways and stuff. But what was it actually like?
Well, this school was called the Cultural Arts Center when I went, but now it's called the Long Island School of the Arts. So it's still around. It's a very small school in Syosset, Long Island. There was about less than 300 kids total when I went there. I think even less now. And it was fantastic because you're in this environment with all these kids who are passionate about their art form. So you're walking down the halls where the art department is, and you're seeing the most amazing artwork from these kids from all these different schools. And you walk by the jazz students and you're hearing them play like amazing jazz music. And we had these like assemblies every few weeks where you'd sit, everyone, the whole school would get in and different departments would perform. And I just had such a beautiful appreciation for all the different kinds of art forms that you could study at this school. It was the best experience.
And were they teaching like a certain sort of method? I mean, it sounds like it was very serious, even though, it's still high school. But when did you start sort of learning about training, and was there a specific method you sort of applied?
That's a good question. I was doing musical theater. So it was very much about taking voice lessons and musical theater scene study class and such. And so in high school, we didn't get really specific about techniques like Strasberg and Stanislavski, etc. Though I started studying those things on my own, and going to the library, which you couldn't. I was going to say you couldn't pay me to go to the library on my own when I was before I went to performing arts school, which is not not great, but it wasn't until I got passionate. I found this passion with acting that I was going to the library every day, reading plays and reading about acting and learning about Stella Adler and all the different kinds of acting techniques. And then when I got to NYU, which is where I went to college, I continued studying musical theater, but the acting training got honed a little bit, and I started learning about Meisner. My teachers were Meisner based, a lot of them, but there was also Strasberg, and NYU has all these different studios of different students studying different disciplines of acting. So, and you cross paths a lot. So you guys talk and you make fun of each other, and like you go see each other's shows. And I would experiment with things that they told me about. And I was just soaking it all in.
How quickly out of school did you start working? Because just sort of like a glance at your filmography seems like it happened, fairly fast, but I'm curious if you ever had to take survival jobs or anything like that.
I was lucky enough to start working right away. My last year at NYU, my last semester, I did a show with the grad acting students, and I got this really nice, juicy role in this play. And a commercial agent saw me in it, and I signed with him, and I started working right away. But I got my legit agent separately than NYU. I did a showcase outside of NYU um, a few months after I had graduated, and I started booking jobs right away with my legit agent. I booked the first two auditions I had right away, so it was like I just started immediately. Very lucky.
Every actor hearing that right now is like, ah.
Oh man, I know. I mean, look, it's you prepare, you go to school, you train, and if it happens that way, it happens. And if it doesn't, then you find ways to persevere and stay in it. But I was definitely lucky for sure.
Well, you must be pretty good at auditioning too, because it is a very separate skill. And, I've known people who sometimes they're better in auditions than they are on set, or vice versa. I've had so many great actors tell me that they really haven't mastered the art of auditioning. You must have done pretty well, obviously, because you were booking, but did you have sort of a secret in that room to help you?
Um, have fun. Uh, I love auditioning, and I love the freedom to do what I want within the confines of whatever the piece is asking. So um, I love just making it my own and not thinking. I think some actors get caught up in trying to figure out what the people want behind the table, what the directors want, and I don't think it was never helpful for me to think about it in that way. I always thought I'm gonna go in and do what is the most fun for me. Um, and if they like it, cool. If they don't, that's fine. If they want to give me adjustments, I'm ready for the adjustments. But here's what I worked on, um, and I think that's helped me a lot.
How often, I guess when you were starting out, which doesn't seem that long ago, but it probably realistically was, how often would you go out on colorblind auditions? Did you find that the industry was open to that, or have you seen improvement over the years?
I think I've seen some improvement in that regard. I don't know how often. Honestly, maybe it's like half and half, really. You know, of course, I would get the stuff that was really like young African American male, but um, yeah, there were the auditions that were a little more open, also. Um, but I guess I would say half and half. Yeah.
And I'm guessing, and it just occurred to me, I shouldn't make this assumption, but did you find theater was more open to colorblind casting?
I think so. I think so. Um, yeah, I think my theater auditions were more open, and I mean, I was getting auditions for all kinds of things, even if it wasn't a specific race or ethnicity that they were looking for. There were different types of characters that didn't really fit me on the nose, but I learned that if I have the appointment and the language, the material speaks to me, that I should take it and just give my best shot, even if I'm reading it and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Or even if it was like, this literally says white actor in his 30s, why are they seeing me? They're not even gonna cast me for this. And sometimes I booked those, and sometimes I didn't, but sometimes I did. It really was about the material, you know, if I read it. And sometimes I would pass. Sometimes I would go, this was literally, this was not written in mind with a black character.
Yeah.
And, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. So there was all different kinds of um, ways that I would react to some of these auditions.
It sounds like you had a really healthy attitude from the beginning about auditioning, like looking at it as an opportunity to act, and not taking it too hard when the rejection comes. But I am curious, did you ever have any like disastrous auditions? That we hear so much about.
Right. Well, auditioning, I could go. I mean, every actor can talk about things. But look, I have a certain perspective about it, particularly because I've had the advantage of being in the room as a reader for auditions a lot, and that taught me so much. That's like a masterclass in and of itself, and I've done that for years and years for all kinds of projects. Um, I mean, to answer your question, I like a horror story. You know what? I can I've had a couple of I've had some auditions where I just wasn't prepared. That's the real horror. Like if I go in and I've worked on it and I'm like not even in the same ballpark as what they wanted, that's totally fine. It just matters that all I can do is my best. That's all that matters. So it's the few times that I've, for whatever reason, gone in and didn't work on the material like I should have. Those are the times it was like, oh man, you know, why'd you do that? And I mean, what I can also say briefly too is that like I was telling you, I had this history of musical theater, and but when I got out of NYU, I didn't pursue it because I wasn't passionate about singing anymore, so I put it aside. But I got a few opportunities to audition for musicals because my agents at the time saw that I could sing. I still had it on my resume, and they would send me out, and I would pass a lot. But there were a few times where I did go in to audition for a musical, and I really shouldn't have, because singing is a whole. If the instrument isn't sharp, and I wasn't practicing, I wasn't taking lessons, I didn't even care about singing anymore, wasn't passionate about it. I had no business doing those auditions. So those auditions did not go well, to say the least.
I mean, singing is such a skill that I've never even been able to touch. So I'm so impressed by anyone who can. But have you ever done like a Broadway musical, or you've mainly done straight plays, haven't you?
Mainly straight plays, though I have had to sing in some plays. Sometimes it's caught me by surprise. Sometimes, you know, like I'll agree to do the piece and they're like, oh, the character sings this song. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And I'm like, okay, let me brush off this thing. Cause you know what, I have the skill, but it's like, I don't really work on it. But so I'd have to do all this like mental gymnastics to try to like get myself in the right mind frame to be able to sing. And I've been able to pull it off. So it's caught me by surprise a few times, but it's been mostly straight plays.
And what do you like about the medium of theater as opposed to, well, actually, What is your favorite medium, having done, stage and screen? And specifically, what do you enjoy about the act of live performance?
Well, yeah, I'll start with theater. I mean, now in my career, what I would say is I love refining a role through the run of a play, which you don't really get that experience on camera. Um, it's not quite the same, but if I'm doing a show and it runs for a month or two, um, part of the fun for me is, excuse me, is refining. I mean, I don't, I never sit back and I'm like, okay, cool, show's open, director's gone, I could do what I want. Every night I'm refining. I always have notes for myself. I never beat myself up. I'm not an actor who's like, oh, why did I do that? I'm always like, look, you're human. I I went up on a line last night. It's, I'm not a robot. I can't. I'm gonna make mistakes as long as I'm doing my best. But um, I really love refining till the very end, till closing day. I'm still like, what's gonna keep this fresh? Um, I think that's one of the best parts about doing a play.
And what
Um,
do you enjoy about getting to do on-screen work?
the on-screen work. See, when I'm rehearsing a play, I'm relying so much on my instincts, and particularly when I'm working with a director who's really sharp, but knows how to work with me, knows how to let me do my thing before they swoop in and start really shaping what I'm doing. At the beginning of rehearsal process, I'm not like, I have the job, so there's nothing to be afraid of as far as what I'm trying in the room. So I just throw things at the wall. I'll be quote unquote bad or what, like, I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm there, I'm working with everyone. I'm being a good scene partner, but I'm just also trying things, and I'm not married to anything because I know that there's a million different ways that I could play a scene, play a moment. So I'm really stretching the limits of what I can do in the rehearsal. I feel like that's what it's there for. So I get in the mud and I just get messy. And then I start to refine what I'm doing. And so to your question, what I find with on-camera work right now in my career is that, I obviously don't have that rehearsal time like I do in theater, but I'm I can use those instincts that I rely on so much in the rehearsal process, and for on camera, I'm sort of amping up those instincts, and I'm sort of like dialing them up, and I'm kind of like floating on that in a way, like it's all instincts, and they'll take whatever take they like, and then whatever doesn't work, they'll cut it. But I can play. I always have to be able to play. I need to have that sense. So relying on my instincts even more so for on camera is, I don't know. I'm finding that I really enjoy that.
I'm curious, I know the term big break is really kind of a misnomer. There generally isn't one big break. It's more like a series of small breaks. But was there a job or a point in your career where you really sort of realized you could do this and you were in it for, I guess, life?
Um, I mean, I started that way. I mean, right when I started working, I kind of was, I, I don't know. I kind of was like, this is what I do. But I mean, but that it goes even before that. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. And maybe it sounds odd, but when I finished that first year of performing arts high school, I was like, this is what I do. This is this is it. So from that point on, I've been dedicated to it. And I mean, I know what you're saying about big break, and even my manager, Brett, was telling me too that there are no, there like there are actors who quote unquote make their big break, but they've been working for years and years. So it's almost one of those things where it's not for me to say, it's for someone else to say, to point out, oh, this was the moment where people knew you on a bigger scale. But I just know, and I have no control about how that's perception will be, but I just know that I'm working in a way, I'm moving in a certain direction, and trying to stay active and stay challenged as an artist. And that's what my focus is.
Well, I think, from outside eyes, a lot of people really saw you when the public did Much Ado About Nothing.
Mm.
Really acclaimed production that you were a part of. Feels like that was a big turning point, or maybe it's just the fact that it seems like the last couple of years have been really great for you.
Um, well, it was, I can see it being a turning point for sure for me, because it was certainly a goal of mine for a long time to do Shakespeare in the Park, no doubt about it. So that was a big job for me, and the biggest stage that I'd ever played on. And it presented new challenges for me, on a technical level too, because there's so many people, and the way that stage wraps around, it was really challenging to go like, how am I going to play to this part of the stage but still convey what I need to convey to the people who are all the way on the other side. It's massive when you get up there, and it's filled with, what is it, 1800 or 1900 people. So that was a big show, and especially for it to be a part of that particular show, which was, the first all black cast to do a show in the park. That was just a fantastic experience, and to be able to play the villain was so cool. I must say, that was so cool.
There's been so many, obviously, Shakespeare productions. Did you go back and look at any of your predecessors, like Keanu Reeves in the film version or anything like that?
No, I know. No, it's an honest question. I've been asked that before, but I didn't. I don't. I remember a teacher from high school kind of talking to me about how that was something at my disposal as an actor, that I could go back and look at different interpretations of a role. And for Shakespeare, there's, a million different. I mean, you can go to the Lincoln Center Library and watch a bunch of things too. But what I've found thus far is that I don't find that particular approach as useful. I really sort of get off from feeling like I'm the first one to do it, and so I don't think too much about other interpretations, especially for something Shakespeare related. But our production of Much Ado was just so new, and like we just put our own spin. It was like unapologetically black production. It was like, we're gonna do this how we do it. And I just loved that so much. I embraced it. And so I didn't watch Keanu, but I think I saw it a long time ago. And I'd actually seen a production of Much Ado not long after I got out of school in the park. So I did see someone play Don John, but I had like no memories of it.
It's actually my favorite Shakespeare play. So I've seen so many productions of it, and it was so cool to see something that felt so new while also being respectful of the original text. It was such a great production.
Mhm.
I just always worry with Shakespeare in the Park that like animals are going to get on stage or something.
Yeah, I know those raccoons. They give a the public gives us a mini speech about it, before we get out to the stage. They're like, so there's raccoons, and you have to be respectful of them because that's their home, and we're coming into their space. The raccoons have been there forever, um, And then, they fit in some jokes like the raccoons know Shakespeare's text better than anyone, like they'll come onto the stage, and if it comes onto the stage, be calm. So we were waiting. I mean, I was waiting as Don John for a moment to be like on stage with a with a raccoon, but it didn't happen. But they're like under the stage too, and I did some of my prep for the show before the show started, right under the stage, and I could see like a little family of them. And so I would see them every before every show, and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" And then I'd do like my actory stuff and my warm ups, and the raccoons are like, "Oh God, oh goodness, he's going through his process." So anyway, it was fun.
But that's again what I love about live theater, that anything could happen on any night. You could be joined by a family of raccoons on stage.
I would have loved that. I mean, those are the best moments, right? When like something happens and the actors aren't prepared for it and the audience is surprised. Those are some of the most memorable moments, aren't they? Like, I think we've all seen a show where something happened on stage and it was like, whoa, is this supposed to happen? And everyone's like, I think what makes those moments so exciting is that everyone is listening. So as an actor, when something out of the ordinary happens, it really, I mean, as an actor, you're always working to be listening for the first time in a way. So when something new happens, it's exciting. And so I love those moments. I don't know if every actor would say that, but oh man, I love it.
Did you see the video of when Tom Hanks was doing Shakespeare in the park in Los Angeles, and somebody passed out, so they had to hold the crowd, and he came out and improvised as Falstaff for like 20 minutes in character? It was
No.
amazing. Yeah, you can find it on YouTube, I'm sure. It was phenomenal. I mean, I think we all know that Tom Hanks is a genius, but this will give you a whole new appreciation for him.
I will look for that video. No doubt. No doubt.
So obviously we have to talk about The Good Lord Bird, which I believe is your first series regular role on television.
It is. It sure is.
This is based on a novel by James McBride. I'm curious, were you familiar at all with the story? Or even did you know much about John Brown before this project came to you?
No, I did not. I didn't know too much about John Brown. I hadn't heard of the book, so it was all new to me.
And what appealed to you about the project? Or was it one of these things that just sort of started out as an audition where you didn't really know that much about it? And at what point did you sort of fall in love with it?
I loved the challenge of it. I like one of my favorite things is getting an audition and reading the sides and going, what am I going to do with this? And I like when I can't quite put my finger on how I would approach it, because then I'm like, okay, this is a challenge. How am I gonna? And so I like figuring it out and figuring out my way of my interpretation and of this for the audition. And when I read Bob, it was a challenge because I'm like, who is this enslaved man who's talking to these white people in this way? I've never seen this. He's either really crazy or he's really smart, and I couldn't tell at first. I didn't know if he was something horrible was going to happen to him later in the episode. And I'd be like, I mean, that's what happens when you talk to people. You can't talk to white folks like that in the antebellum era. And but that wasn't the case. And Bob was, I quickly realized that he was really smart, and he knew his boundaries. And I like to figure out what the heart of the character is in a way, like what makes them tick, what keeps them going. And with Bob, it's his family, who he references throughout the series, but that's what's keeping him alive. So anyway, I liked that the challenge of Bob and like how to play these situations he's in, but also in connecting with theater, since we've been talking about it, is the language of James McBride's was like, who writes like this for on camera? Like I I dealt with heightened language in the theater world a fair amount, and heightened language I would describe as um, anything that is any language that is not like, you know, everyday language, and that often contains poetic elements. And James McBride's language was like that, and so I was like, this is some juicy stuff that I can sink my teeth in. And I was just coming off of Much Ado, and so that heightened language was very appealing to me. So between the situations that Bob is in, the humor that was in the script, and this language, I was I was sold. I was like, I want to give, I want to audition for this. You know.
Um, because this is set in a different time period. It's a period piece. I'm curious, what sort of skills did you have to learn for the part? Like, do they give you a crash course on like shooting guns and riding horses, things like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, they totally did. I had to, well, similar to Bob, I'm not really into using weapons.
Hmm.
Like I've never gone to a gun range or anything. And Bob is spending a lot of the series like trying to figure out how to not use any any weapons of any sort. People are there's he's like in the middle of a battle, and he's like, I don't know, get these things away from me. And he's just running for cover. And so it's not my comfort place in real life, but nevertheless, I was given a crash course just one day. I only had one day of shooting some like pistols and stuff with blanks, uh, and that was okay. It was all right. The horseback riding was fun.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I mean, I'm a city boy. I mean, I don't, you know, nothing country about me in the least. So, but I I really liked getting on the horse. I had a big smile on my face when I got on top of that horse. I was like, this is kind of cool. And the wranglers were the animal wranglers for the show were the coolest guys, like straight up cowboys were like teaching me how to ride a horse and how to ride a wagon. So those moments were really fun.
And now you have something new you can add to special skills on the
I,
resume.
I can.
You're also getting to work a lot with Ethan Hawke, who not only plays John Brown, but I believe is a creator, a producer on the series, and has actually written some of the episodes. He just does everything, and your guys' scenes together are so fantastic. What's he like as a scene partner?
Oh, he's fantastic. He's very generous. Uh, Episode 2 just aired last night, and um, there's a moment towards the end of the episode where he just gives this scathing, ferocious speech as John Brown, and uh, he happens to have a gun in his hand, like two pistols, and he's so excited, and he's kind of waving the pistols around, and then he sees Bob, and he kind of like, you know, points the pistol at Bob, just kind of like, hey Bob, and I just kind of reacted, but that wasn't in the script, you know, that was just Ethan playing. He has a great sense of play and a great sense of like, as a scene partner, lobbing something to you, and he does it because he trusts you. And so that said a lot to me, that we would have moments and scenes where he would toss something to me that wasn't in the script, and I'd be like, holy crap, and I'd have to adjust. And you know, again, I love those moments. So I had to laugh as I watched that moment because like I said, he like points the gun at me, and Bob is like, oh God, like I just have this like reaction, like, why are you pointing this gun at me, crazy man? Um, so anyway, he's just a ball, and he's full of stories, and he's an actor's actor. Um, and it was great to be on set and watch him in all his hats, his producer hat, his writer hat, his actor hat. Um, it was just I just soaked up everything I could from him.
I'm kind of surprised by how funny the show is. I mean, it's obviously also very dramatic and thrilling, but the sense of humor is something that really caught me off guard. Was that evident in the scripts?
No doubt, no doubt. It is there, and when I booked it, I had a little less than 2 weeks before I actually started filming, so I had to read the book, and obviously, and I read the book, and I just laughed so much, and you wouldn't. I mean, if I told someone that I was reading uh, an historically fictional account of John Brown, I don't think they would believe me. If I was on the train and someone was like, "Oh, what's that book about? I see you keep laughing," and I said, "Oh, it's about John Brown and how he wanted to start a slave, revolution," they'd be like, "What? Like, why are you laughing so much? Are you, demented?"
Another crazy guy on the subway.
But yeah, just a crazy guy in the corner reading a book on John Brown, and I know, but look, it's James McBride, and look, Mark Richard was the main screenwriter, and Ethan did some episodes, and we had a few other really talented writers who helped transfer the book to the screenplay, but we retained so much of what's in the book, and it's that humor, and we were able to preserve it, which I'm so proud of, and it's in the words, it's in the rhythm of it. I mean, there's no way but to start chuckling to yourself, and like, there's like, it's I just laughed a lot.
And I
Yeah.
know as of this taping, we're only 2 episodes in, but what can you sort of tease that we can expect from the rest of the series?
Oh, well, Daveed Diggs comes in next week as Frederick Douglass, which everyone knows. You've seen it in the trailer. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen little snippets, but you have to see the whole episode. You have to see what he does with Frederick Douglass. And this is not your history class Frederick Douglass. This is James McBride's Frederick Douglass, who is a trip. He is a character, and that's how he is on the page. And Daveed soaks it. He just took it and like ran with it. So you got to see Daveed. You got to see all the amazing actors that come in. Orlando Jones. We got Killer Mike is in the series. I mean, there's amazing actors. Rafael Casal. I mean, so watch for them, and watch how this story unfolds. I mean, Onion. This is his story, and he's going on this journey, and we know how the story ends. I mean, and the series kind of starts at the end. It shows John Brown just about to get hung, but you really can't imagine how uh, Onion gets involved in this actual historical event on this raid on Harpers Ferry. His role in that, it's you got to see how it unfolds.
And Joshua Caleb Johnson, who plays Henry or Onion, is so fantastic. It's really kind of humbling to see someone so young, so good.
I know. It's insane. It's insane. I mean, my first day of filming was Bob's first scene in the first episode, and we got to start playing, and that's when I see him in the dress, and Bob is like, what are you doing here, little girl? And he doesn't know, he's a boy in a dress. And anyway, me and Joshua just started playing right away. He has a great sense of play. He was able to. I mean, as an actor, I keep saying this thing play, but it is that sense of play that we all have as kids. That as an actor, you try to you try to keep tapping into that. And Joshua is so young. He was 14, he's now 15, but he has not gotten out of touch with the sense of play, and you can see that through the series. He's a great young man.
Well, it's such a great show, and I want to remind everyone watching at home that it airs every Sunday night on Showtime. I want to congratulate you on all your great work, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.